Today we're putting the Sig Romeo X on the rack and seeing how it stands up to our torture test. Alright, so this is our second go at this video. More particularly the torturing side of things. You guys might notice that I'm wearing different clothing or wearing a hat, and that's because when we filmed it the first time, it was really freaking cold. And now we're filming it, and it's literally the opposite, really freaking hot. When we had released the first version of this, we had gotten a few comments from some of our viewers, and we really wanted to take that to heart. And also, YouTube had some issues with the way that we were doing things, so we are gonna go ahead and redo the whole thing over again for you. Hey everyone, I'm Jeremy Burrs, the Director of Range Training and Law Enforcement here at D5 Ranges Marengo, and we're back for my favorite type of optics testing, torture testing. Our victim this time is the Sig Romeo X. The Romeo X was originally bred from its military kin, the M17 optic, and it comes in two flavors, the Pro for your full-size mounting firearms and the Compact for smaller firearms. The Pro uses the Delta Point Pro footprint, while the Compact uses the RMS C footprint. Both of those are pretty darn common. It is CNC machined out of 70-75 aluminum, so it's meant to be very, very rugged, and that's gonna help kind of absorb some of that shock. The adjustments are at 1.5 MOA for both the windage and the elevation. As far as the reticle goes, there's three basic reticle setups. You get that 2 MOA dot, the 32 MOA circle, and then you could have a combination of both the dot and the circle, much like its rival, the 507 from Hollow Sun. It is IPX7 waterproof rated. As far as battery life goes, it boosts about 20,000 hours of battery life from that 1632 battery, which is mounted vertically on the side here. So you no longer have to take the optic off to replace it. That is an outside battery tray, kind of located on the side here. The lens is a distortion-free spherical lens, and it is beautiful. It's an open emitter type optic also. It does feature MOTAC, which is Sig's motion activated illumination, kind of like that shake awake that a lot of other companies have. It does have 15 different illumination settings, the lower three of which are reserved for night vision. And one of the best parts is it's assembled right here in the United States. So what comes in the box with your Romeo X? Both are gonna include the manual, and it is the same manual for both the Compact and the Pro. Then you're gonna get your optic, and depending on whether it's the Compact or the Pro is gonna depend on how many screws you get. The Compact will come with 2 different sets of screws, whereas the Pro will just come with 1 set of screws. And then you've got your 2 wrenches that it comes with. You've got 1 wrench that's going to be for the actual screws, and then 1 wrench to adjust your windage and elevation. All right, so let's talk about our instruments of torture for our Sig Romeo X. The first thing that we've got is our 2x4. We're gonna rack the optic numerous times off that 2x4, and then we're gonna go ahead and bludgeon it with that 2x4. Then we're gonna use the metal rim on this barrel to rack it off of. Then we're gonna transfer on over to here. We're gonna rack it several times off of our cinder block. Then we're gonna drop it into these limestone. It's a bucket full of limestone. Then we're going to do a waist height drop on the concrete straight onto the optic head. And then last but not least, we'll disassemble the slide, take it off the firearm, and then we'll let it sit in this water and see if we kind of opened up any cracks or broke any seals on it, where that water is now gonna come inside that optic and defeat that IPX7 rating that it's got. All right, let's get ready to torture. All right, so the first test that we're gonna do is we're gonna rack it off this 2x4 quite a few times. Then I'm gonna hold onto the firearm, I'm gonna bludgeon it a few times, and then we'll walk over there and confirm 0. All right, here we go. All right, I think that's enough. All right, let's confirm 0 on this thing. All right, so before we get shooting, we did take a little bit of time to confirm that we did have 0 before, so we got a pretty good rough 0 on this before we got started. All right, I think that's a pretty good zero confirmation. I did pull one of them a little bit off to the left, but it's a really good tight group there, so I'm happy with it. All right, next up what we're gonna do is the barrel test. We are going to rack it quite a few times off the rim of this barrel, which is not just the metal of the barrel itself, but it's got this reinforced locking rim around it that's also steel. So we're racking it off of, well, a whole lot of metal. All right, you ready? Here we go. All right, so same thing, just took off a little bit of paint flakes on there, both on the optic and on the barrel. So let's go ahead and line it back up and confirm our zero after that. All right, here we go. All right, I think it's pretty good placement. I think we got a good confirmation of zero still off of that, so I think we're good. I think we're ready to rock and roll. Let's keep going forward. All right, now we're gonna move over to the cinder blocks. I'm just gonna rack it a few times off the cinder blocks, and then we'll go ahead and reconfirm zero again. All right, you ready? Whew. All right, so we definitely ripped up a ton of the coating. Just the paint on the outer edge, but because that lens is so recessed in there, it doesn't have any problems getting to that lens, or there's no issues with when we're hitting it off of things, it actually compromising the glass itself. So it's just paint, it's just coating. So let's reconfirm zero and see where we're at. And here we go. All right. Say they're all about the same spot. So that confirms zero. Let's carry on to the next thing. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna drop it into this bucket of limestone. And again, this bucket of limestone isn't really there to really damage or do blunt force trauma to it. It's more there to see if we get any scratches on that spherical lens that they've got. So we're gonna try to drop it down at a slight angle so that hopefully we get some rocks to kind of come up inside here and see if we can affect the lens with it. All right, here we go. We'll go one more time. Oh yeah, that was a good one. All right, sweet. So no worse for the wear on this one. It doesn't look like it got to the lens. There might be a couple little parts on there that the rocks actually did hit the lens, but really it just looks like it's a little bit dirtier. So I'm gonna wipe the lens off before we shoot, just so I can actually see what's going on. And then we'll check to see if those are actually scratches that are on that lens. All right, let's do a zero confirmation and see where we're at. All right. I'd say that's a heck of a confirmation of zero. I think we are good. All right, let's move on to the next thing. All right, now for the one that I like the least out of all of these, we're just gonna take it from about waist height like this and just drop it straight onto the optic, straight onto the concrete. All right, ready? Here we go. Ooh. Ooh, that was a rock solid hit. Oh yeah. That was a rock solid hit. You can see it took a little bit of a chip out of here. It actually looks like it may have chipped the concrete just a wee bit too. Definitely took a good bite out of there. And it looks like out of the corners too. Kind of smudged up on the corner, chipped these down a little bit, but really not bad. I mean, nothing wrong with the glass. I mean, everything lines back up with that co-witnessing sights on the iron sights. So let's throw a few rounds out and confirm zero, see how we did. All right, that's a good confirmation of zero right there. So we move on to the next thing. Let's do it. All right, so now the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna drop the slide and the optic in this bucket of water. And It's not to think that we're going to damage it with the water alone, but what we're trying to see is that through all of this type of testing, if maybe we opened up some vulnerabilities in there that maybe weren't present before, because remember, it is an IPX7 rating, so by dropping it in that bucket and letting it sit in there for a good 15 minutes, did we open up any cracks or vulnerabilities in any of it that's now gonna allow that water to seep through? So let's disassemble it, let's toss it inside that bucket of water and see how it does. All right, bombs away. All right, cool. So this has been sitting in here for at least 15 minutes at this point. So we're gonna take it out, just shake it off real quick, put it back together again, and then we'll jump over there and confirm our zero. So let's pull it out. Ooh, that's cold. Feels good on this hot range today. All right, I see a circle and a dot. So we're good to go as far as having a dot or a picture in there. So let's get it put back together again. Let's shoot this thing wet, and then we'll confirm our zero and see what we did or how we did. Slippery. All right, let's see what we got. Oh boy. All right, well, I am soaked, and that was a really good confirmation of zero. So it held up and held zero to everything that we needed it to do after all of that torture testing. So I'm gonna dry off real quick.
All right, so what are my thoughts about the Sig Romeo X line? Well, I definitely feel like it was built to withstand some abuse, and I think that comes from the DNA of the optic that it was kind of originally from the M17. I did really like that side-mounted vertical tray. Yeah, it's a little odd looking, and that's okay, because what it does is help keep that sitting really, really low into the frame, which helps that co-witness. And by the way, a co-witness is with regular sights, which is really unheard of. And it gives you a really good natural sight presentation because of that deck height. So when you're pressing that gun out, it's kind of instinctually there. It gives you a really good low height over bore. And it does have a built-in rear sight. It's just kind of a plain blade on the Pro, which is fine for that size. But then it gives you kind of a fiber optic on the compact one, which is really nice because a lot of times when you remove that, you're also removing your rear sight on those smaller guns. And I really like the button protection that it has. There's nothing worse that when you go to present your firearm to use it and you've realized, oh crap, I've got no dot, or all of a sudden you've got this giant blown out starburst because while it was in your holster, you wind up bumping into those illumination buttons and it jacked it up or dropped it down. And it works good with gloves. So I really like the protection that affords you. It does have positive clicks for both the windage and the elevation, which I did like. They were clicky, but they weren't really clicky enough for me. I did feel like there was one or two times during adjustment that I was kind of unsure whether I was clicking it or not. So I kind of had to click it one more time to see. So really, I would just like to see that to be a little bit more clicky. So what are my final thoughts with these optics? Are they really worth the purchase? Well, they sit at right around 400 bucks. You can get them a little bit less than that. So do I think they're worth it? Yeah, I think they're a really good optic, and you can see from our torture test that it withstood everything that we threw at it, and how much more beyond that can it withstand? But you've got kind of a tough price point there where you're putting yourself a little bit higher up than things like the Holosun 507 and the Vortex that we tested last time, but you are getting SIG quality. It is made in the United States, and the DNA that it comes from with that M17 is a really good proven track record with it. So yeah, it's probably worth that money for sure. And another thing is, how well did it do in our testing? Well, it did phenomenal. I mean, really short of just scraping off some of the paint, that's kind of really all the damage that it took. There really weren't any dents or chunks missing out of it. So it really, really did really well. And you know, after doing this sort of test, I give it really, really high rankings on that list as far as durability goes. And that reticle is really crisp and clear. I really, really did like it. And I really enjoy having variety with my reticle, right? I love having that dot, and I love that circle, and I like being able to switch from having just the dot, just the circle, or the combination thereof, kind of depending on what I'm using it for. So the versatility of that is really nice. And the glass is probably one of the clearest glasses that I've seen on pistol optics, so major props to Sig for this optic for sure. Is this an optic that you're looking to get for yourself? Let us know down below if this is something that you want to get.
So as you know, these videos aren't cheap to make on the ammunition side of things and on the range side of things, but also on all the things that happen behind the scenes with editing and all of that sort of stuff. And it takes a lot of time and dedication to make these videos, and hopefully you guys really enjoy the videos that we make for you. But with that being said, we are starting to look for some sponsors, and those sponsors don't have to come just from the firearms world. They can be sponsors in anything that you can possibly think of. So if you like these videos and you like the information that we provide, why don't you think about sponsoring our videos so that we can continue making these for everybody out there. And if you guys want to get a hold of us in regards to any of that, go ahead and hit us up on our social media, or email us, or call us directly here at D5 Ranges Marengo and let us know what you're willing to do.
All right, thank you very much for joining us on this video. If you learned something from it, hit that like button and share it with someone else who might like this. Also, don't forget to pull the trigger on that subscribe button and make sure that you hit the little notifications bell to get notified when we drop more awesome content. And don't forget to hit us up at d5rangesmarengo.com and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next time.